Hi everyone, good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you today on Tuesday, August 5th with this week's Technique Tuesday, and I am super excited to share this layout and this super cute little card with you all today. And the technique I'm going to be sharing for today's Technique Tuesday is heat embossing with the gold embossing powder. You can do this on your, as I've done here, on my letters. You can do it on die cuts. You can do it just on your cardstock, even with your stamped images as well. So it's been a little while since I've taught this particular technique, and I know that there's going to be some customers of mine that have been scrapbooking with me for a really long time, that, you know, the powder kind of like, oh, it makes a mess and it gets everywhere. But trust me, please trust me, because the kit that I'm going to share with you today, if you love this technique, then the kit, or you may not have tried this technique before for that reason. I know some of my customers don't like making a mess and stamping and embossing. Then I really want to encourage you to give it another crack, because the kit that I'm going to be sharing with you today is going to make all of the difference. So I'm super excited to share it with you. We've got a couple of girls that have joined us live today. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Pauline. Thank you so much for coming on live. I am going live a little earlier today because the sun is shining at the moment, and the way my office faces, I've got some beautiful natural sunlight coming in here today, which makes all of the difference when I do these live videos. So for this week's pattern, we are creating a double page scrapbooking layout. I am using a OG. Now, for those of you that don't know what OG stands for, I quite often say you're like my real OGs. OG stands for original gangster, and it's a little bit of a fun saying. But this is the OG how-to pattern book, because it dates back to 2008. I'm using a back to basics scrapbooking how-to pattern book, and I absolutely love the patterns that we are creating and what I'm seeing all of you contribute to our scrapbooking group and community as well. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for contributing. We are working with pattern number 1H, which is on page 21. Now you can see the pattern here shows a single page layout, but I have recreated it as a double page layout. And in fact, you could actually take the master pattern as your left-hand side page and then do an alternate pattern as your right-hand side page. That is the beauty about this particular program, is that you can actually mix and match it up to suit your photo sizes and orientations. So I am converting mine into a double page spread. I have actually gone with the master pattern on one side, on the left-hand side, and then I don't know if you've noticed, but I've actually turned the pattern around. You can see here that this would go all the way across the top. I've actually turned this side, my right-hand side scrapbook layout, I've alternated it to have the pattern turned the other way, and that has been able to incorporate this one portrait photo that I had. I did try to do it and put the photo as a landscape of this beautiful grazing board that we made for dinner. Yes, that counts as dinner, girls. Champagne and a grazing platter counts as dinner. And so I just didn't think it looked as good as having the portrait photo in its original stage. So I don't know. You let me know what you think, whether you like it landscape or portrait, but that's what I've actually rolled with. So for your base pages, you are going to need two 12 by 12 inch sheets of either cardstock or designer series paper. You quite often will hear me refer to that as DSP for short. I have opted for plain white willow cardstock as my base pages. And then you're going to cut a piece at 6 by 12 inch. Now I want to give you a little tip with this. If I was to cut that, the piece of paper that you're cutting 6 by 12 inch is actually going to run through the top of your layout here, or I've got it here on the side. Now you're then going to cut another piece of either designer series paper or cardstock at 5 by 12 inches, and you're putting piece B over the top of piece A. So if I do that, I'm basically just covering all of that pattern underneath. And sometimes we don't worry about that, other times we do. But look at this gorgeous pattern paper. I don't want to waste my designer series paper by covering it with cardstock. So I cheated a little here. This piece of cardstock, which is Berry Burst, I've actually cut my Berry Burst at 5 by 12. And then you can see that you've got 1/2 inch either side because this is 6. So 6 take 5 is 1 inches. So I've got a 1/2 inch strip at the bottom and a 1/2 inch strip at the top. And no one is the wiser, right? You don't know that that's not a 6 by 12 inch sheet of paper underneath. So that's my little tip for you if you want to save your paper. Cut these 2 strips at 1/2 inches by 12 inches. Now you do want to make sure that the orientation, if you're going to change the orientation of your page, then you want to make sure that the orientation of your paper is going to match. So you can see here, if I turn that on, I've got this floral paper is running vertically, and then it doesn't match the orientation here. So I did have to make sure that before I cut that, I did change the orientation of my paper so this pattern is running vertically. So you've got 2 1/2 inch strips of designer series paper here. You've got 2 1/2 inch strips of designer series paper here. I've got a 5 inch strip of cardstock running through the middle there. And then your remaining pieces, piece C, the instructions is to cut that at 5.5 by 5 inches. And then that's going to go here in the bottom left-hand corner. Obviously, with it being 5.5 by 5, I actually wanted a exact square around the outside. So I have cut this designer series paper at 5.5 by 5.5. So the height of it still fit in with the layout because you're going to stick this piece here flush at the bottom of your left-hand side page. And then your 1/2 inch strip's going to go here. And then your 5 inch strip's going to go here. And then your other 1/2 inch strip's going to go at the top. So you've got a 1/2 inch strip here at the top of your base page of your cardstock. So when I added all that up, I had to do some math. And we all know that Sarah doesn't like too much math. I was the child at school that when math was not compulsory, I gave it up. And I think from memory, that was at the end of year 11. I don't remember I think I did business math in year 11, but I'm pretty sure that standard math I gave up at the end of year 10. So I like math for scrapbooking though, okay? So I had to do a little bit of math here and add all this up to make sure it was going to fit in. So that's just a little a little fun fact for you today. So that is pretty much it in terms of the paper that's going to go on the base page of your cardstock. And then if you plan on doing a double page spread, which ideally I'd love for you to do that, to go into the drawer. I know that some people are a little bit time poor on a week-to-week basis and a single page is all they can manage, and that's totally cool too. However, you're just basically going to need to cut everything twice. So I've got 4 pieces here at 1/2 inch. This strip is at 5 inches by 12, and then the squares are 5.5 by 5.5. Now I did add in a little journal box here. I've got this in a memory protector because I've got a flip flap on top. So I'm going to take that out now I've showed you the flip flap. But in one of my Technique Tuesdays, maybe I did this last week. You might remember I did the stamping at the top. I did this last week, the stamping at the top of the base page of the cardstock. And the technique I showed last week was stamping to make your own patterned paper. Well, this was actually what I showed you last week. And I've just cut this at 3 inches. And I've made a little 3 by 4 inch journal box as my base, using what I stamped last week. And then I've cut my white willow cardstock out at, I want to say that's at 3.5 by 2.5, which is how I've got that thicker border there. And then I've done bullet journaling in my journal box. So I've used one of the little stamps from the Cheers and Sips stamp set. So this is the little bunch of grapes. And I've stamped the little bunch of grapes here as like my bullet journaling. And I've just bullet journaled, listed where we went for, well, this is actually the second half of the day. There was a whole front morning section before this. This was just from lunch onwards. So I've stamped that there on the journal box. Okay, so it doesn't have cutting instructions for a journal box as such on your pattern, but you can certainly make your own journal box there if you like, okay? So these photos were actually taken on a mum's weekend in the Barossa, and one of the girls had organised this wonderful itinerary for us to enjoy for the day. So this is the second half of the day. So we've got lunch. We did a wine tasting experience underground. This is in the Barossa Valley, which is about an hour north of where I live in Adelaide, South Australia. So wine country I'm in. In the afternoon, we went to a distilling company and we had some gin tasting and some cocktails to finish off the day. And then we'd actually rented an Airbnb in the Barossa Valley, and we went back and had a beautiful platter and drinks and dancing for the evening. So a lovely weekend away from the husbands and the kids, or the mums, just to recharge the batteries. So as you can see, the Cheers and Sips bundle, and also the celebratory Sips suite, which is where the designer series paper has come from, obviously suits my photo theme very, very well, okay? I also made a super cute little card. So this particular layout forms part of my weekly scrapbooking challenge this week, but we also did this layout last Saturday with my team, some of my demonstrators in my team. This was the little kit that they got for attending on the day, and they recreated the scrapbooking layout as well. And then we also made this cute little card. So this is also using the celebratory Sips suite. So some of the designer series paper. This is Blackberry Bliss cardstock. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I showed you the technique of using the Glass and Gardens embossing folder. And I showed you how to emboss your two-tone cardstock using that embossing folder. This is the glass pattern. I demonstrated this on a Technique Tuesday. So this is actually what I demonstrated to you a few weeks ago. So you can see that I love to repurpose what I am creating and what I'm teaching with as well, okay? Then we've just stamped using the Cheers and Sips stamp set. We've stamped Cheers, Let's Celebrate. Just pop that up with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we've used some of the little holographic resin dots, which is also part of the celebratory Sips bundle. And we've actually just popped them on the card. So a really simple card. I do tend to, when I do make cards, they are very simple. I'm not super decorative with my cards because I love to scrapbook and I love to get my photos and my stories in albums. So if I make cards, they're usually from the kit collection, or if they're from scratch, like this one has been, then my pattern or my design will be quite simple. Something that I can recreate time and time again. So we did this layout and this card on Saturday at my team demo day. To embellish, I've got a really big title through here. So I've used the Party Alphabet dies, and I'm going to be demonstrating cutting that today. And then at the bottom here, I have done some heat embossing using the gold embossing powder. To embellish, I haven't used any stickers. I've used all stamped images, and then I have cut them out with my die cut. So die cutting and embossing machine. The Cheers and Sips bundle actually has a photopolymer stamp set with all of those images there, and then it has a coordinating set of dies that actually fit over the images that you've stamped. So some of these are stamped images, the little berries and the little grapes and the botanicals that are in my gin cocktails here. But we have also, the really cool thing that I love about these pre-cut shapes here is that two of these dies, this tall one here, the highball glass, and also this shorter tumbler, actually are designed to cut over the top of one of the designer series paper sheets in the pack. So if you are feeling like you are having a day where you're being a little lazy, or maybe time is of the essence, you can actually, rather than stamp and die cut, you can just put your dies straight over the top of these super cute glasses, run that through your embossing machine, and you've got them all cut out ready to go. So you can see the ones that the girls have done. And one of the other things that I shared on the weekend with my team is that I also cut out these half ones on the edges, because this little one here actually was half a glass, And I've just created a little cluster of some gin cocktails here by stamping another one, and then the cute little ice cubes, which are one of the stamps that go in there. So I've stamped a couple of those little ice cubes there, and then using my sponge daubers, this one here is the cloud cover. We've literally just inked up our sponge dauber, and then I have just daubed that. Is that a word? I'm making up my own words today. Daubed. I have sponged that on top of the little ice cubes. Okay. So I've used cloud cover for my inks, and I hadn't yet invested in Blackberry Bliss. So I've got the Close to My Heart matching color, which is Sangria, which has worked out perfectly for what I needed to do. And then also the greens were stamped in Old Olive. So that's my color trio. Last week I did a technique on coordinating your colors together using the color coach. There's a free file I've posted in our scrapbooking group, and there's also a wheel that you can purchase. So I will be sure to post links to the bottom of the comments at the end of my video today. And the colors I've gone with are Old Olive, Cloud Cover, and Blackberry Bliss, or in this instance, Sangria. I don't have Old Olive at hand, actually. That's in my other room, so I do apologize. Oh no, I've got it right here. I'd already unpacked it. Okay, there we go. There's the color combo there. Don't they look great together? They look so good. I love it. I just love this suite because we have so many photos like this to scrapbook. And then my little bling, I have used the super cute little in color, the 2025 to 2027 in color flat pearls. So just this morning, today on August 5, we have launched a sale where a select range of in-color products are actually at 15% off. So I have posted a link to that sale in my Facebook group, and I've just sent my monthly newsletter as well. And there is a link to the sale there. So be sure to check that out, because there are a lot of things in that sale that I was not expecting. I thought it would just be products that only have the 2025 to 2027 in colors, but I was wrong. Some products just feature like maybe one or two of the in colors, and they are on sale as well. So I think that is super cool. All right, so that is all of the papers and the die cutting and embellishing that I have done. So let's get into the technique, and I can't wait to show this to you. It's like magic when you see the heat embossing done, and it has been a really long time since I've done heat embossing, and I have to agree, like sometimes I have a little bit of, I like wash my hands 500 million times a day. I have like sensory issues. I don't like, you know, like I love going to the beach and I love the sand, but I don't like all the sand on my hands. So it's kind of like the embossing powder, right? It can get a little messy, and it is kind of like an added step when you're doing this particular technique. And sometimes I enjoy the process and the time, and other times I just want to get my scrapbooking layouts done, right? So it just depends on what mood I'm in, really. So, but I'm excited to share it with you today. So I have got here some letters that I am going to cut out using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So with the party alphabet dies, with the size of these letters here, you want to cut the width of your cardstock at 2.5 inches wide. I've got some washi tape here. Do you love how my nails are Blackberry Bliss and they match the two-tone cardstock? Do you guys know, I know my regulars know this, I actually want to get my nails done every sort of like 3 to 4 weeks. I will coordinate, it's very sad, but I think it's hilarious. I will coordinate my nail color with the color, with a color of the paper suite that I'm teaching. So it looks super aesthetic in my videos and on my Instagram. And I tell you what, it makes a really fun conversation when I'm at the nail salon getting my nails done, because the girls now are like, oh, what color? What are you teaching today? What are you teaching this month, Sarah? And they want to see. So I get my catalog out and we try to match it up. They help me figure it out, the color match with the nails. So it's actually become a little bit of a a running joke. I've been doing this for like 2 years. It's become a little bit of a running joke. They love it. I love my nail girls. Okay, so my dies are just held in place with some washi tape there. The reason being is that my plates, I probably should have done this the other way around. Let me see how this goes. I'm in need of some new plates. I have bought some new ones, but I'm saving them for this weekend because I've got my scrapbooking retreat weekend this weekend. Alrighty, so, oh no, that's working just fine. You can hear that cracking. So I'm running this through my die cutting and embossing machine. And we are going to have some letters that I have cut out. And I decided to go with the word you because I know that I'm going to do some other scrapbooking with this particular range before the end of August. For those of you that are new here, every month I will pick a suite that I will create with for the month for our weekly scrapbooking patterns. And they are in line with the scrapbooking workshop kit that I like to teach as well. Look at that. I love it. I love those big letters. So I will feature the same suite the whole way through the month. And this month, I started a little early because I love it so much and I couldn't wait to get stuck into it. So I have already done quite a few layouts with this particular suite. So I love these letters, so big. So yes, I'm going to go with the word you because I will figure out how I'm going to use that on another layout at some stage. So let's pop these dies to the side. They're only capitals, no numbers with that set. And we're just going to grab some grid paper underneath here. And I want to introduce you to the Embossing Additions Toolkit. So this is super fun. I'm going to take it. I've left mine in my box because it's all nice and organised. But when we take this out, everything has its little home. So let me run through with you what comes in your Embossing Additions Toolkit. Okay, so we have got the anti-static pouch. So I'm going to show you how we use this. I'm going to take that out of its little baggie. Anti-static pouch. We have got a little brush with some nice soft fine bristles there. We have got some I was going to say tweezers. Well, they're kind of tweezers, little tongs. I was going to say tongs, but they're tweezers and they have a ceramic tip. Okay, and then we've got this little tray, or you can see here I've kept my fine print from my kit, and there's actually some tips in here as well, girls. Okay, so this is really important. You want to read through this beforehand, or you can just watch my video. We've got here the little tray. I should have given this a good wipe out. We had a good workout with this on Saturday. This is the little tray that we're going to do our embossing in. And this is what makes all of the difference. Because before, we used to just heat emboss over a mat. And we'd end up with embossing powder everywhere. Okay, and that's not going to happen today. Because that's what this bad boy's for. Okay. And it's got a cute little funnel. And a twist lid here. So you are not going to have any wastage of your gold embossing powder. Okay. Now, I did post a link to the gold embossing powder today in my newsletter. I had some embossing powder left over from the time that I was with Close to My Heart, so I am going to finish off using the embossing powder that I already have. Some of you may already have embossing powder, which is awesome. If not, then I will post links to everything that I'm using today. So you need your embossing toolkit, you need your embossing powder, you need your Versamark ink. So this stamp pad is non-toxic and it creates translucent images. So it's designed for background designs or to create that wetness on my alphabet. And then we're going to put the embossing powder on it. And then you're going to use a heat tool. Now, I had a heat tool that I had invested in before I transitioned to Stampin' Up! Because the previous company that I was affiliated with did not sell one in the Australian market. But great news for those of you that do not have a heat tool and want to invest in one. Stampin' Up! Does have a heat tool for our market. in Australia. So I'm very excited about that. So that is what you need to do your embossing. So what we are going to do is I am going to grab my lid off my Versamark and with my letter Y. Now, in my layout here, I just embossed like the bottom, like a third of the letter. You do whatever you want to do, okay? So we're just going to grab your anti-static pouch and you're just going to want to wipe that over your cardstock or stamped image that you're going to be embossing. I just wiped that off before you dip it into the Versamark. I like to use the tweezers. I was going to say tongs again. They kind of look like tongs for this. And I'm just going to press that into my Versamark, okay? And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that. Oh, there we go, on that angle there. You can see where that is wet, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold this over my tray. Now, be liberal with this. Don't freak out when I'm doing this. It's okay, because before I had this little toolkit, I used to be very liberal with, I didn't used to be liberal. I used to be, what's the word I would use? I was stringent with my embossing powder, but you don't have to be with this. So this is what you're going to want that little brush for. So I've just got rid of that excess there. So I'm going to have that nice clean line when I emboss that, okay? And so you can see now why I'm using the tweezers. I'm not ending up with any embossing powder on my hand. And now this is where you need your heat tool and the magic's going to happen. My tip for you is to make sure that you don't have the heat tool going over your little embossing tray with your leftover powder, because guess what? That powder's going to go everywhere. So I'm just going to move that. And ask me how I know, girls. How do I know? It happened on Saturday. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to move that out the way, and I'm hoping that you're going to see this magic in the light. I'm going to turn my heat tool on, and it's just going to take a moment to heat up there. And I'm going to get it at this angle here. And this is why you want to hold on to it with your tweezers, because you don't want to burn your fingers. Now, I hope you guys can see that. Let me know if you can see. Can you see that changing colour under the heat? So the heat is actually setting the embossing powder. Oh my gosh, that's magic. Is that just not like the most satisfying thing to watch ever? I'm going to turn that off. And that is how you end up with that gorgeous heat embossed stamped image or letter. Should we do another one? Do you guys want to see another one? It's like kind of one of those things that, like, once you start, you can't stop. You just want to like emboss everything. You want to heat emboss everything. All right, so we're going to, oh, hang on. I need to make sure I do my anti-static pouch. Now, I'm going to show you some other letters that I did on my layout where I haven't done the anti-static pouch, and it can, like, not heat emboss properly. So I want you to have a good experience with this. There we go. Okay, powder. And then we're just going to tap that excess off. Magic. Oh, there's a little bit that I've missed here. Let's try that again. Perfect. Now, I will say that I did try actually just putting my Versamark on the letter, and then I turned that over and I rubbed it in the excess, and it didn't work as great as pouring it over the top like this. And that is why on my layout, that's partly the reason where I have actually chose to, this one especially, this is why I've chose to put my stamped images over the top of that to kind of cover the mess that I made with my heat embossing. But, you know, if you haven't done it for a little while, or if you haven't done it at all, it's okay. You're practicing and you're trying something new, right? Hi, Julie. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Doreen. Thanks for joining us today. We've done the letter Y. We're just going to do the letter O now. I can see it's taking a little bit to heat up, and you'll know when it's good to go because it will start setting that embossing powder. Oh, can you see that? Surely. I was trying to go with a darker colour cardstock today to see if you could see that heat embossing technique a little better. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Isn't that the best thing ever? It's just like magic. I love it. And I think it looks so good on the darker cardstock as well. So you can see here where, like, I didn't, this might have been one that I forgot to put the anti-static pouch on because it's kind of clumped up a little bit here, and then I haven't brushed it. You can see where there's not like a clean image there. So much better. It's kind of just like one of those things where practice makes perfect, right? And like I said to you, once you start, you won't be able to stop. You're going to have so much fun with this technique. And it looks great on cards as well. Some of my girls shared some embossed cards. And in fact, I've asked my team members that were at our demonstrator day on Saturday to please post their layouts and their card that they did at our team demo day on Saturday, because I would love them to share with you what they did, because everyone got a different pack with the paper, and so it's the same layout for both the scrapbook and the card, but everyone's layout looks so different because they chose their own title, and then the papers, because they were all different designer series paper, same pattern, but everyone's layout looks so unique, which I just loved. All right, here we go. It's starting to emboss now. So let me know. Give me a thumbs up or a love heart. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you can see this changing. It's magic. So fun. This is really fun to do at Christmas time as well, with the gold and the silver on the cards. Looking good, girls, looking good. Alrighty, so there is my embossed letters. Just a fun technique to do. I've got the letter U, and I'm thinking I've got some other, I've got another girlfriend's 50th birthday I need to scrapbook, and I'm thinking for my title, I'm going to do, where's the stamp set? I think for my title, I'm going to do like cheers. And I'm going to like to you as a big title. And it's a little cheers. But we did cheers. It's a 50th birthday. So I really hope. Oh, you can see it. Good, Dorian. I'm so glad. Oh, now let me show you how to use this funnel, because this is going to change your life. The other cool thing is that you can get a refill for this Versamark. So as this starts to dry out, and you'll know because it won't like make your paper look all nice and glistening. You can actually get a Versamark ink refill. If you do have a Versamark and it needs a refill, there's low inventory in the South Pacific at the moment, so you may want to jump on and grab one of those sooner rather than later if you are in need of a refill. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to tap this down to the bottom, and then you can use your little brush for that if you want, to get all that excess out of the tray. I usually just give, my beautiful girls packed all our stuff up at the end of the day on Saturday. I usually just give it a wipe over once I finish with it before I put it back in my box with just like a baby wipe, just to get that excess powder off. So I've got that all down the bottom there in that little funnel. And then I'm going to grab my jar of embossing powder, and I'm just going to untwist. Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't do that up too tight. Just untwist that lid over the top. Oh my gosh. There we go. I knocked that down too soon, but that's okay, because now I can just, this is why, here we go, girls. This is why you've got that scratch paper underneath, just in case. I can just make a little funnel there and get that excess embossing powder back in. Alrighty, so I hope you have enjoyed today's Technique Tuesday. So with this week's bonus ticket for the draws, girls, obviously I put the heat embossing as one of the bonus tickets, but I would understand that maybe not all of you have invested in this particular range of product as of yet. So I have given you an alternate option, either the heat embossing or using some coordinating stamps and dies to embellish your page. So I hope you have enjoyed my Technique Tuesday for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see what you create this week, guys. Have a good one.